When the first light of dawn touches the earth, it carries a message that is older than words. A new day is not just time moving forward. It is a chance to begin again, to shape the rhythm of life with clarity, balance, and intention. The way we greet the morning is the way we greet our own destiny. When the first light of the morning breaks through the darkness, it is not just the sun rising. It is life giving us another chance to reset, to realign, and to redirect our energy toward what truly matters. Beginning the day with stillness and reflection is a practice that carries immense power, because in that silence before the world awakens, we find ourselves. The quiet of dawn holds a kind of wisdom that the noise of the day cannot give. It is in those moments that the mind is unburdened, free from the weight of yesterday, unshaped by the demands of today, and open to clarity. To sit in stillness, even for a short while, is to allow the fog within to settle, making space for the kind of thoughts that can shape the day ahead. Stillness is not emptiness, it is presence. It is a gentle reminder that life does not begin in haste, but in awareness. When we allow ourselves to pause before rushing into action, we create a foundation of calm that steadies us against whatever storms the day may bring. Reflection deepens that stillness, turning it into a mirror through which we see ourselves more clearly. It allows us to ask quietly, what is my purpose today? What energy do I wish to carry? What weight do I need to put down? Without such questions, we often walk blindly into the day, reacting instead of choosing. But with reflection, the day becomes intentional, directed by us rather than by outside noise. Successful people often guard this morning space fiercely, not because it is a ritual they must follow, but because they have learned that clarity begins in silence. When the mind is calm, decisions come more easily, focus sharpens, and creativity flows without resistance. In stillness, one does not simply rest, one gathers strength. In reflection, one does not simply think, one finds direction. It is not about the length of time spent in this practice, but about the quality of presence brought into it. Even a few minutes of mindful breathing, a moment of journaling, or simply watching the sunrise with full attention can shift the entire rhythm of a day. There is also a healing element to beginning with stillness. The modern world pulls us constantly outward, toward screens, toward obligations, toward endless lists of things to do. The morning stillness calls us inward, reminding us that before we give our energy to others, we must first give space to ourselves. In that space, the scattered pieces of the mind begin to come together, and the heart finds its balance. Reflection deepens this healing by making us conscious of our choices. Instead of repeating the patterns of yesterday, we can release what no longer serves us and step into the day with a lighter spirit. To begin with stillness is to reclaim authority over the mind. It is to say that the world may be loud, but I will not begin in noise. It is to protect the inner flame before the winds of the day try to blow it out. And to reflect in those quiet moments is to plant seeds of intention in fertile soil. What we plant at dawn grows throughout the hours, shaping not only what we do, but how we feel, how we respond, and how we carry ourselves in the face of challenges. When the day begins, it does not come with a map already drawn. It arrives like a blank canvas, untouched, waiting for the brush strokes that will define its meaning. To set clear intentions and goals before distractions arrive is to take hold of that canvas and decide what will be painted, instead of leaving it for others to scribble upon. So often people wake and fall immediately into the rhythm of urgency, checking messages, worrying about tasks, letting the outside world dictate what matters most. In this way, the day no longer belongs to them, it belongs to whatever pulls their attention first. Setting intentions is the way to reclaim ownership, to declare quietly but firmly, this day will move with direction, not drift with chance. Intentions are not about forcing every moment into rigid control. They are about offering the mind and heart a compass. When a compass is present, even if the journey bends and shifts, the traveler does not lose their way. A morning intention can be as simple as deciding to remain calm in stressful situations, to approach work with focus, or to prioritize kindness in interactions. These thoughts, planted early, shape behavior long after the moment of setting them has passed. It is the quiet agreement between oneself and the day, a choice about how energy will be spent and what kind of presence will be brought into each encounter. Goals give these intentions structure, turning a vague desire into something concrete. While intentions provide direction, goals provide steps. The mind thrives on clarity, it struggles with ambiguity. To say, "I want to use this day well," is good, but to say, "I will complete this specific task, I will dedicate time to this project, I will nurture this relationship," gives shape to the hours. Without such clarity, the day easily dissolves into distraction, with energy scattered in too many directions and little to show for it by nightfall. Successful individuals understand that time is both abundant and limited. Each morning brings plenty of hours, yet how quickly they vanish when not guided. Setting goals at the start of the day allows one to prioritize the essential over the trivial, to ensure that what matters most does not get buried under what matters less. It is a form of self-respect to decide, before others do, where attention will go. It is also a protection against the constant pull of urgency, because when goals are clear, it is easier to say no to what does not align. There is also a psychological strength in starting with intention. The human mind is naturally drawn toward clarity. When it knows the purpose of the day, it resists distraction more easily. Each action becomes a choice aligned with the intention, rather than a reaction to circumstance. Even when unexpected challenges arise, a person who has set intentions does not collapse into confusion, because the compass remains steady. The direction has already been chosen, and while the path may bend, the destination is not lost. To set clear goals in the morning is not about overwhelming the self with endless lists. It is about identifying what truly matters in the space of the next 12 to 16 hours and giving that the best of one's energy. Small, focused goals often build greater momentum than large, vague ones. They create a sense of progress that fuels confidence, and confidence in turn fuels persistence. The act of naming these goals before the noise of the world begins is an act of discipline, but also of wisdom, because the early hours carry a freshness of mind that later hours may not. In this way, setting intentions and goals becomes more than a practice of productivity. It becomes a way of shaping identity. Each morning, one decides not only what will be done but who one will be. The clarity of purpose radiates through every action, turning ordinary tasks into meaningful steps and transforming the day from a chain of hours into a deliberate creation. To awaken the body with mindful movement and nourishing habits is to honor the vessel through which every dream, every task, every intention is carried. The mind may guide and the heart may inspire, but it is the body that bears the weight of all living. Too often people neglect this truth, rushing into their days with tired limbs and unsteady energy, expecting focus and strength to appear from nowhere. Yet the body is like a well, if not replenished, it cannot provide. To begin the morning with movement and nourishment is to fill that well, ensuring that throughout the day there is vitality rather than fatigue, clarity rather than fog, strength rather than weakness. Movement in the morning does not need to be extreme. It is not about proving endurance, but awakening life within. A few stretches to lengthen muscles stiffened by sleep, a slow walk to welcome the fresh air, or gentle exercises to stir circulation can be enough to awaken the energy that lies dormant. These small actions signal to the body that it is time to rise, to engage, to be ready for the demands ahead. When movement is approached mindfully, with attention to breath and sensation, it connects the mind back to the body, creating harmony instead of separation. This harmony is essential because a distracted mind in a neglected body will always struggle to perform at its best. Nourishment follows naturally after movement, because the body, once awakened, must be fed with care. The morning is not the time for neglect or harmful indulgence. It is the time for renewal. What is consumed in those first hours becomes the fuel that drives performance, mood, and endurance. Just as a fire cannot burn brightly without the right kind of wood, the body cannot sustain energy without wholesome fuel. Water, fruits, grains, or any balanced form of nourishment signal respect for the body and prepare it to meet challenges with resilience. The opposite, skipping nourishment or feeding it with empty choices, weakens not just the body, but the clarity of the mind. Successful individuals understand that discipline in how the body is treated each morning is not vanity, but strategy. A mind that is foggy from poor habits cannot plan effectively. A body that drags through fatigue cannot support ambition. By awakening the body through movement and nutrition, one sharpens the instrument through which all work is played. This does not mean following rigid formulas or chasing perfection. It means cultivating awareness, listening to what the body needs, honoring it, and giving it what will allow it to carry the mind and spirit with strength. There is also a deeper layer to this practice. When one moves the body in the morning, when one breathes deeply and feels life expand in the lungs, there is a subtle reminder that being alive is itself a gift. This reminder awakens gratitude not just for the body, but for the day itself. Nourishment, too, becomes more than eating. It becomes an act of mindfulness, a chance to be present with the simplest of blessings, a chance to begin the day with appreciation rather than neglect. Energy created in the morning ripples through every hour that follows. Tasks are approached with greater focus, challenges are faced with resilience, and even moods remain more stable. Without this foundation, intentions and goals, no matter how clear, often falter under the weight of exhaustion or restlessness. The body is the ground upon which everything stands, and if that ground is not strengthened at the start of the day, the structure built upon it cannot endure. To cultivate gratitude in the morning is to open the heart before the demands of the day can close it. Gratitude is not simply a polite acknowledgement of blessings, but a deep recognition of life as it is, with all its imperfections and gifts. When one wakes and allows the first thoughts to be of appreciation, the mind begins from abundance rather than lack, from fullness rather than emptiness. This shift, though subtle, creates a profound difference in the way the entire day unfolds. A grateful heart has less room for resentment, less space for fear, and greater capacity for peace. It transforms ordinary moments into quiet treasures, allowing the day to be lived with softness instead of resistance. Morning gratitude is powerful because it arrives before the world has intruded. The early hours carry a stillness where reflection is undisturbed, where the noise of obligations has not yet demanded attention. In that silence, it is easier to see what is already present: health, breath, shelter, loved ones, opportunities, even the smallest comforts that are often overlooked. To pause and recognize these things is to remind oneself that even in struggle, there is still much to hold with tenderness. It is not the absence of difficulties that makes a person strong, but the ability to see light within them, and gratitude nurtures that ability. This practice is not about denying pain or pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it is about shifting focus from what is missing to what is present, from what is broken to what still holds. The human mind naturally gravitates toward problems, always searching for what needs fixing. Gratitude retrains that instinct, teaching the mind to balance awareness of challenges with appreciation for blessings. This balance does not erase hardship, but it gives strength to face it with a steadier heart. Those who begin their mornings with gratitude carry a different energy into the world. Their interactions become warmer, their patience deeper, their perspective broader. Gratitude makes people less reactive and more intentional because it roots them in abundance. Even small annoyances lose their power when measured against the recognition of all that is already good. a delayed meeting, an unexpected obstacle, a minor inconvenience. These things lose their sharpness in the presence of a grateful mindset. The heart that has counted blessings at dawn does not so easily lose its calm by noon. Gratitude also fuels motivation. When one recognizes what has already been given, it creates a desire to honor those gifts through action. Health is valued through care, opportunities are pursued with diligence, relationships are strengthened with kindness. This motivation is not born from fear of loss, but from appreciation of presence. It is a motivation that sustains without burning out, because it draws from joy rather than pressure. To cultivate gratitude is to nurture humility as well. The recognition that life is filled with countless elements outside of one's control. The air breathed, the earth that holds, the kindness received from others, brings perspective. It softens pride and opens space for connection, because gratitude reminds us that we are never entirely self-made, but woven into a fabric of support, both visible and unseen. This humility becomes strength, because it builds resilience in relationships and steadiness in the face of success or failure. The morning, when infused with gratitude, becomes more than a beginning, it becomes a grounding. Each thought of appreciation is like a root planted deep into the soil of the heart, anchoring it so that no storm of the day can easily uproot peace. Gratitude does not change the external world, but it transforms the internal lens through which that world is seen, and in doing so, it shapes the quality of every action, every word, and every thought that follows. Discipline in the morning is not about harshness or rigidity, but about choosing consistency over chaos, order over chance, and intention over drift. When the day begins with discipline, it carries a structure that supports both focus and freedom. Without discipline, the hours scatter like leaves in the wind, pulled by every distraction and urgency, leaving little of substance behind. To maintain discipline through consistent routines and practices is to build a steady foundation that no amount of unpredictability can easily shake. It is the quiet decision to show up for oneself before showing up for the demands of the world, the act of honoring commitments that no one else may see, but which shape the strength of character. Morning discipline is often misunderstood as a restriction, but in truth it is liberation. It frees the mind from indecision by creating patterns that become second nature. When waking at a set time, when following chosen rituals, when giving energy to the same grounding practices each day, the mind is spared the constant burden of choosing whether or not to act. Discipline replaces hesitation with flow, confusion with clarity. Instead of wasting energy deciding whether to move, one simply moves. Instead of debating whether to focus, one simply focuses. In this way, discipline conserves inner strength for more important battles that arise later in the day. Consistent routines also communicate to the self a message of reliability. When one keeps promises to oneself in the early hours, trust is built within. This self-trust becomes a form of quiet confidence, a reminder that goals are not only imagined, but actively pursued through small, repeated actions. Each morning that begins with discipline adds another stone to the foundation of inner strength, and over time this foundation becomes unshakable. Without such steadiness, even the greatest ambitions collapse under the weight of inconsistency. Discipline in the morning also shapes the way time is valued. The early hours are often the most fertile, carrying freshness of thought and clarity of energy. To guard this time with structured practices, whether through writing, exercise, meditation, study, or any other ritual of growth, is to give the best part of the day to what matters most. When these hours are wasted or given away carelessly, the rest of the day often feels like a struggle to catch up. But when they are used with intention and order, they create momentum that carries naturally into everything that follows. There is a deep connection between discipline and freedom. Paradoxically, the more disciplined the morning, the more flexible the rest of the day can be. Because when the essentials are completed early, When the mind and body are aligned through consistent practices, one is free to adapt to challenges without losing balance. The strength of discipline is that it turns habits into allies, making progress automatic rather than forced. It ensures that growth is steady even when motivation fades or circumstances shift. Successful people often protect their morning discipline fiercely because they understand it as the anchor of their day. This protection is not born out of fear, but out of respect for the process. They know that greatness is rarely the result of sudden effort, but of small, repeated actions performed with consistency. Discipline in the morning is where those small actions begin, shaping not only productivity, but also character. It is the quiet training ground where resilience, patience, and determination are built. The beauty of discipline is that it does not require perfection, only persistence. Even when mornings are imperfect, even when routines are disrupted, returning again and again to the chosen practices reinforces strength. The habit of showing up consistently, despite obstacles, creates a rhythm that becomes unbreakable. It is not about how flawless the morning looks, but about how faithfully one returns to it. Discipline is the steady thread that ties each day to the next, weaving them into a life of purpose and meaning. To align actions with core values in the morning is to ensure that the day begins in truth, in harmony with what matters most at the deepest level. When life is lived without alignment, it feels fragmented, as though one part of the self is moving in one direction while another resists. This inner conflict drains energy, creates confusion, and leads to choices that may bring short-term success but leave behind a sense of emptiness. Alignment, on the other hand, allows each step to flow with a quiet integrity. It is the process of making sure that what one does reflects who one is, that the actions taken in the light of day are not disconnected from the principles carried in the heart. Morning is the most powerful moment to renew this alignment. At dawn, when the world is still untouched by noise and pressure, there is clarity to ask the most important questions. What truly matters to me? What kind of person do I wish to be today? Which values will guide my choices? These questions are not abstract philosophy, but practical tools. They act like a compass, ensuring that every decision throughout the day, whether small or great, moves in the direction of authenticity rather than compromise. Without such reflection, it is easy to fall into patterns shaped by others' expectations, chasing approval or success, without ever asking if it aligns with one's truth. When actions are aligned with values, the energy that flows from within is steady and calm. There is no need to force motivation because the heart and the mind are no longer in conflict. Work becomes meaningful, relationships deepen, and decisions carry a sense of rightness that cannot be manufactured by external rewards. This integrity creates not only success but peace, the kind of peace that comes from knowing that even if outcomes are uncertain, one is living faithfully to what matters most. Disalignment, however, is costly. When the morning begins with habits or choices that contradict one's values, the entire day carries an undertone of tension. The spirit feels unsettled because part of the self knows it is moving away from its core. This is why starting with alignment is so vital. It prevents the day from being built on false ground. Even small actions, choosing honesty in communication, practicing kindness, prioritizing health, honoring commitments, become anchors of alignment. They may seem simple, yet they strengthen the bond between intention and reality, between who one wishes to be and who one actually is. Successful individuals often emphasize alignment because they understand that achievement without integrity is fragile. A person may reach goals that look impressive on the outside, but if those goals contradict inner values, they bring no fulfillment. True success is measured not only by what is achieved, but by how it is achieved, and alignment ensures that the path walked is as honorable as the destination reached. The morning offers the perfect moment to renew this commitment, before distractions blur clarity and temptations invite compromise. The act of aligning actions with values in the morning also builds resilience. Challenges will always arise, pressures will always come, but when one is grounded in values, decisions remain steady. Temptations to cut corners, to betray principles, or to follow the crowd lose their grip when the inner compass has already been set. This steadiness allows a person to walk through uncertainty without losing themselves, to face obstacles without breaking faith with who they are. Alignment also nurtures authenticity in relationships. When others see that actions consistently reflect values, trust is built. Words are believed, intentions are respected, and connections deepen. Such authenticity cannot be faked. It comes only from the discipline of aligning daily actions with inner truth. Beginning the day with this commitment radiates outward, touching every interaction, every choice, every outcome. When the morning is honored, the day transforms, and when days transform, so does a life. Stillness clears the mind, intention gives direction, movement awakens strength, gratitude softens the heart, discipline anchors consistency, and alignment with values ensures integrity. These are not distant ideals but living practices, seeds that can be planted each dawn and watered with simple awareness. A life shaped by such mornings becomes steady yet flexible, strong yet compassionate, ambitious yet peaceful. Success then ceases to be a chase and instead becomes a natural unfolding, the quiet result of beginning each day with care, with presence, and with purpose.